Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome back if you are not. This is the Bookish Life of Laura. I am Laura, and today I've got some ranting to do. First things first, this video contains spoilers. Okay, so we know this. You will be spoiled for this book. If you have not read this book and you don't want spoilers, do not watch this, okay? Moving on. So, I read a book the other day. It's called Wasted Words by Staci Hart, and I did not enjoy this book for various reasons, but mainly one big reason, which is why I want to do a rant on it, because I need to rant about it. So, let's get into it. So this is a adult contemporary romance novel. It's self-published by Staci Hart, and it's the first book in her Austen series. And each book is a different retelling of a Jane Austen novel. So this one, Wasted Words, is a retelling of Emma. So this book, oh boy, I've got some thoughts about it. So this book, from the beginning up until about the 35% mark, was a 5-star. Like, off the bat, it was awesome. I loved the characters. And then it swiftly went downhill, and we're now sitting at, I have it on Goodreads as a 2.5. I might move it down to a 2 or possibly a 1.5. So it's in that range, if that tells you how the ending of the story went. Not even the ending, just the middle to the end. Like, ooh. So in this book, we follow our main characters, Cam and Tyler, who are the love interests. Cam is a co-owner at a bookstore/bar called Wasted Words, and Tyler is a former football star. He was about to go pro until he really badly injured himself and is now an agent instead for other players to get signed. I don't know how sports stuff works, but apparently that's what they do, so whatever. Tyler, after his injury, he had a girlfriend. They'd been together for a while. She left him because he was no longer going to be a pro football star, and she wasn't there for love. She was there for the name. So she left him. He moved out of their apartment, and he moved in with Cam, and now they've been living together for a year. So this is a friends to lovers romance. At first, it was just so freaking cute. The characters were adorable. So Tyler and Cam are best friends. They do everything together. They've gotten really close over the last year of living together. And of course, sparks start to fly. And of course, they are the love interest for this novel. So I'll start with the pros, because there are significantly less pros to this book than there are cons, so we'll start there. Pro number 1, the characters. Freaking cute. I love all of them. They're all so believable and very well written characters. I feel like we got a very interesting cast of characters, from the main ones to the side characters. They were all super fun, really sweet people. Our characters consist mostly of Cam and Tyler and their friends. Cam's friends. Tyler has one friend and he's a prick. So Cam's friends, which are her coworkers at Wasted Words, and they're all just so much fun, and their friendship is just, I live for it. Especially Cam and Rose. They just have this really sweet relationship. That's why I was so into it at first. And then my other pro is Cam herself. So I'm pretty new to the adult romance genre, so I don't know if it's pretty common to have characters have anxiety in these books, but I personally haven't read any yet. So Cam has anxiety, which I thought it was wonderful to see that kind of a representation in this book. Again, I don't see that often in these romance novels. It's normally just very light and cute and everyone's happy and falling in love, but in this one, Cam is a hot mess. Cam described her anxiety in this book as being bad enough that it affects her, but not bad enough to need medication. And her anxiety is very, very prevalent in this novel. It's actually the source of the angst later on, which I will get to in the cons section. I just thought it was wonderful to see that kind of rep in the story. I didn't really expect it. Again, I'm sure it exists in other romance novels, but being new to this, it was my first time seeing it, and I was very happy too. That's pretty much all of my positives, which is a little sad. I have 3 points. So now it's time for the negatives, which there's a lot of those. So buckle up, because I'm about to get a little bit ranty, which I guess is what you're here for. So, this book had so many cons, and all of the cons started after the romance started happening, most of them at least. So this book was great up until the characters actually got together, which I found was way too early. They were together at like 35% of the way through. It felt very quick, like too quick, you know? I would have liked to see a little bit more of their characters first before they got together, but whatever, that's not like a big deal. But my first really big con, there is no diversity in this book. None. Not a singular gay. Not a bisexual in sight. Nowhere. There's none. They're all straight. They're all, from what I could tell, they're all white as well. Maybe there were some POC characters in here. If there were, nobody was really described. There was a lot of like blue eyes and blonde hair and like, so I assume that most of the characters were white, and like there was just literally no diversity in here whatsoever, which that's kind of a deal breaker for me. I don't want to just see straight characters, like especially in this gigantic cast of characters. Like there are at least a dozen characters in this novel, at least, like who have like a prominent role, and they're all straight. Are you kidding me? And not only that, but they're also working at a bookstore/bar, and they're straight? What? So maybe I just have a bias, because the only bookstore/bar that I know is an LGBT bookstore/bar in downtown Toronto. It's called Glad Day. It's wonderful. Love them. They're also the oldest LGBT bookstore in the entire world. Pretty cool. But yeah, so for me, when I picture bookstore and bar together, I just think queer. Maybe it's a bias, I don't know, but like it's a pretty popular spot for LGBT youth and not youths alike in Toronto. So for me, having this entire cast be straight in this specific setting is very unrealistic. Also, just in like any friend group, you know, again, there's like a dozen people there. Somebody's gonna be gay or bi or something, or non-binary. Like, come on. Throw me a bone here. But no bones were thrown. None. Not one. And my second con was the editing. So this is a self-published book. So normally with self-published, I don't take editing into account, because if you're doing your own editing, you are going to miss things. That's fine. I don't fault people for that. I don't think it's really a big deal to have like a couple spelling mistakes here and there, or like a comma in the wrong spot. Not a big deal. The reason that I mentioned it with this one is because the editing was so bad. There's like a fine line here between it's self-published, you're gonna miss some things, like, you know, you're not a trained professional editor, so that's fair. And then there was this. There were so many mistakes, and the issue with this one is that it got worse the farther into the book we got, which to me felt like laziness. You know, like it just felt like the author had already read through her book a dozen times and just didn't want to do it again, and just got lazy towards the end. That's what it felt like, because it was such like a gradient of mistakes, you know, like the beginning there were none. The middle, I started seeing a few here and there, and then the ending, it was like every 3 or 4 pages there was something, and like it's more than just a comma is missing, it's like a whole word is missing from a sentence. An example that I saw a few times is like saying, do you want to go to bar tonight? Instead of, do you want to go to the bar? Stuff like that, where a word is literally missing from the sentence. That should be easily caught if you're properly editing your novel. So, and like, because it got worse towards the end, it just felt like it was laziness, and that does affect my rating. That I do take into account when I'm giving a rating, because that's not acceptable for me. That should be taken care of. And you know, if you don't want to edit your own stuff anymore, if you're tired of reading through your book and nitpicking every single sentence, give it to a friend, even if they're not an editor as well. Like, it's still a fresh pair of eyes, and somebody else can just read through it and find the things that you missed. Pay them like $100 or something and just have them read your book and like find all the mistakes that you missed, because you were going to miss stuff. And I think not taking that extra step is just laziness to me. So again, normally for self-published books, I would not consider editing to be a big con. I wouldn't let it affect my rating, but for this one, I did. So, because it was just abysmal. It was so bad. Oh my god. And now, my last con, and the biggest con, the reason that this book went from a 5-star to a 2.5, possibly 2, possibly 1.5. Oh boy. And that was the way that the anxiety was handled, which was poorly. Very fucking poorly. Oh my god, I can't even I can't. It was so bad. Oh my god. So first of all, the main character Cam, her anxiety came out of fucking nowhere. Literally nowhere. Like, she was fine. She was this like really like spunky, confident person, and she gave not a single mention of anxiety up until the couple got together. And then she's like, oh yeah, by the way, I have anxiety. And that was like almost 40% of the way through the book. And it just appeared out of nowhere, which like, you know, like, yes, I am glad that it was there. I love seeing that rep. But they had so many chances to bring it up earlier in the book, and like to not make her anxiety be just about her relationship. You know, like it was just like, bam, here it is, in your face, like, and then it became her entire character. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm feeling anxious right now, but it'll go away in like an hour. It's like literally it became what her entire character and what her entire storyline was focused on, was her anxiety, when it wasn't even mentioned until almost halfway through the book. So I didn't like that. I thought that it could have been brought up earlier, and even after it was brought up, like, I wish that we had gotten to see more of not anxious Cam, because like you know, a person is not just their mental illness, and after her anxiety set in, that became all that she was. She was only anxious for the rest of the fucking book. My main issue here is not with Cam. It's not at all with Cam. It is with Tyler. Tyler was a douche, in my opinion. I liked him for the most part. The issue was that when her anxiety got too much for him. So the entire time that they were together, he was like, I promise that I'll be patient with you. You know, you can be anxious about whatever it is that you're anxious about, and I promise that I'll reassure you, I'll be there for you, I'll give you as long as you need. Bitch, he gave her a week. Literally a single week of them being together before he fucking lost it on her. Just like literally screaming at her in their apartment, and then storms out and gets on a fucking plane and leaves for a weekend. Like, is that patience? No. No. Anxiety is more than just a fucking week and then all of a sudden you're cured. For most people, at least. Cam's anxiety came from a past emotional trauma that she went through when she was younger and she's never gotten over. So that's where hers came from. You don't get over that in a week. That takes time. It takes patience, like he promised he would do, and then just fucked off the second that things got a little bit too hard for him. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't. That really pissed me off. Like, I deal with anxiety. I've dealt with it for my entire life. Anxiety doesn't fucking work like that. And the whole issue is that Tyler did not want to talk about it anymore. So basically, the plot of this is that Cam, when she was younger, she was in high school, she was with this guy, they were like dating in secret. He was like some sports captain, I don't know what team it was, football, I don't know. She was like leader of the mathletes, like, you know, they're very different people. They were dating in secret during like while they were doing a project together, and she ended up giving him her virginity. And then literally the next day, she's like glowing, she's on cloud 9, she's in love with this guy. She goes to school the next day, and he is back with his cheerleader ex-girlfriend, and you know, he's like, I'm so sorry, but we're just too different. They come from different worlds, you know, they just won't work together, so sorry, but we're done. And so Cam never got over that. She made these rules for herself where she would never date somebody who was from a different world. So she started categorizing people. She puts them onto shelves like you would for books, and she will never date somebody who is not on her shelf, basically. So then she meets Tyler, who is this football star. He's, you know, a jock. She's like, we're different. We can't date. We can't be together. And so when they got together, she was having a lot of anxiety, understandably so, because all those memories from her past came back, things that she hadn't really like thought too much about, things that she never got over. It all came rushing back, and she was really upset about it. But she hadn't had a chance to tell Tyler about it, because every time she brought up the topic of her anxiety, Tyler would just say some pretty words, he'd kiss her a lot, and just basically just end the conversation as fast as fucking possible. And so the two of them go to this charity event together, they're having a wonderful time, she like finally feels like she belongs with him. So after the event that they went to, she's obviously freaking out because this dude was just like, hey, here are all of your fears shoved in your face. So, you know, she's obviously like freaking the fuck out. And she goes home and she tries to talk about it, and Tyler just immediately goes like, it's okay, we belong together, and like all this bullshit, which is fine. You know, I'm sure he means it. But the point is that she never gets to actually tell him what the fuck is going on with her. Ever. Like, he doesn't let her speak fully. He just, every time she starts freaking out, he just does that. He doesn't let her actually explain to him the reasons behind her emotions. Which is the whole fucking issue. Like, ugh, I hate miscommunication. Just sit down and talk, it's not hard. So while they're having this conversation, and she's like having anxiety, and he's like, oh, it's okay, we're meant to be together. They end up like having sex for the first time, and afterwards she's like, I promise you that like I'm done with all this anxiety and all of my fears are gone. Like, you know, I promise you that I am in it. I'm here with you. I want to be with you. I'm done freaking out. Because, you know, that's obviously how anxiety works. You know, you can just wish it away and then magically you're cured. Oh my god, it's a miracle. No, not how that shit works. Which the next day, obviously, she finds out. She wakes up, she goes to work, and she's like, fuck, I'm still anxious. Because obviously she hasn't actually worked through any of her shit. She's just heard him say some pretty words. Like, he doesn't even know about her trauma yet. And he just expects her to be fine. Like, no. So she goes to work and she's just a fucking mess, and her boss / best friend Rose is like, honey, go home right now, bring us some cupcakes, and tell him what you've been through. Tell him about the douchebag from high school. Tell him what his asshole friend last night said. Tell him why you feel the way that you do. Because you can't move on until you are honest. Go be vulnerable. Go do that. So she's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And after I tell him all this, then I can finally move on. So she goes home with the intention of telling him about her past and telling him about what his friend said the night before. Not to break up with him, not to like her whole point of that conversation was not to be like, hey, we don't belong together. It was just to be like, hey, this is why I'm like this. This is why I've been acting like this. And I want you to know that I'm telling you this so that I can move on and properly be with you. She is going to give him exactly what he wants. But of course, she walks in the door to go do this. She's nervous, as anybody would be. And he just sees her face and he's just like, are you fucking kidding me? You promised me that you were done with this, and, you know, I'm not having this conversation again, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, buddy, I'm just here to have a conversation. He's like, no, I don't want to talk anymore. How many times do we have to have the same fucking conversation? How many times do we have to hash it out? And she's just trying to be like, yo, not what's happening here. I'm just trying to explain. He's like, no, I don't want to fucking hear it. And he just grabs a bag and leaves. Like, he was planning on leaving. He was going to catch a plane that night to go to his parents for the weekend. So he was meant to be leaving. But he just, like, picks up his shit and walks out the door, fucking slams the door on the way out. Because, you know, that's a normal thing to do. And and he just leaves her there to be an anxious mess all weekend. And the real kicker is that she is the one who had to go apologize to him. What? No. She, like, so, like, she is the one who had to fly across the fucking country to go find him at his parents' house and throw some big, giant, grand gesture bullshit to apologize to him because she had the audacity to be anxious. How, I know, how fucking dare she? How dare she have a mental illness? Oh my god, she's a horrible person. The upside is that Tyler did realize that he was being an asshole. He ran into his friend while he was at his parents' house, and he told him that he had talked to Cam at the party. And he was like, oh my god, okay, so that's why she was acting like this. That's why she wanted to talk the next day. I get it now. I'm a prick. Which, like, yay. Good for you. You figured it the fuck out. But Cam still flew across the whole fucking country. I think, I don't actually know where they were. I don't know American geography at all. But she flew somewhere. Got the entire fucking college football band, like literally 300 person band together for a grand gesture apology, which was very cute, but unnecessary. Should not have happened. I do think that Cam should have apologized because, you know, even though she was acting that way because of her anxiety and it wasn't her fault, she did still hurt Tyler. So even though it was not her fault, it wasn't her intentions, she still should have taken responsibility for it, which was good that she did. But I do not think that she should have been the one to pull the grand gesture. She shouldn't have been the one to apologize first either. I think Tyler was the one in the wrong here, more so than Cam. And just the fact that, like, it was played off as though Cam was the issue really drove me up the fucking wall. And no, it should not have been handled that way at all, because the issue was that Tyler would not fucking listen. It is not Cam's fault that she has anxiety. It is Tyler's fault for not being patient like he promised he would be. Because patience is not a fucking week. If the characters had been together for like a year or even a couple of months before they had their big fight, that would have been a bit more understandable, you know, because that would be frustrating. If he had been promising her that he would be patient and that you know, they belonged together for several months and she was still acting that way, maybe that's more understandable to be hurt from that. But it was literally a week. One single week. And he couldn't even be patient for that long. That was the real problem, is that he would not communicate. He refused to communicate with her, even though she was trying to communicate. Every fucking day she was trying to talk to him, and he wouldn't let her. But no, it was played off as though Cam was the problem. Her anxiety was the problem, and that is not cool. I don't fuck with that. That made me so mad, and it dropped this book from a 5-star down to like a 2, 2.5, maybe a 1.5. Not really sure, but like, ugh. Yeah. So that's that. That's my story. I hated this book. I will not be reading the other books. Maybe they're great, so, you know, maybe I'll give it a shot some other time, but like, I doubt it. This book just left me with a bad taste in my mouth. It was just not handled properly at all. It just, ugh. That's how it made me feel, was just, ugh, you know? So there we have it. There is my very first ever rant review on here. If you guys like seeing me get all pissed off about a book, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll do more of them. But that's it for right now. So I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you all next time. Bye!